Casey Anthony was acquitted of murder, but that didn't mean she escaped the consequences of her actions.
The trial might have been over, but her life afterward was far from ordinary.
What happened to Casey Anthony after she was set free? Why? Does the public still care about her story? And what is she hiding in the years since the trial? What happened to Casey after the trial?
Following her acquittal in 2011, Casey Anthony became a pariah.
But despite the media circus that followed her every move, she tried to move forward, living in seclusion, hiding from the public eye. Did Casey ever manage to rebuild her life? Or did the weight of her daughter's death and the world's judgment crush her?
In the years following her acquittal, Casey reportedly kept a low profile, disappearing from the media spotlight.
However, the world's obsession with her never faded. From rumors of her living in various states and using a false name to reports
of her occasional public sightings, it was clear that Casey had become a fugitive in her own life.
How did she survive under the constant scrutiny, and why did she never give a definitive statement about what happened to Kaylee?
Despite being acquitted, Casey Anthony remained one of the most controversial figures in modern true crime history. The public's thirst for answers never waned. Was she guilty or just misunderstood? How did the media and the public continue to haunt her life even after the trial ended? We'll break down the unrelenting obsession that kept Casey in the headlines
and explore her attempts to regain some normalcy. What did Casey do with her life after the trial? After years of being a household name, Casey tried to build a new life away from the cameras.
She reportedly worked at various jobs, including one where she was said to have used a fake name to avoid recognition.
But what did Casey do with her freedom? Did she ever truly escape the shadows of her past? Or was she forever trapped in the nightmare of Kaylee's death? What's the real story behind her life post-trial? Did Casey ever speak about her daughter? Despite the public's need for closure, Casey never gave a full, heartfelt interview about her daughter's death.
Did she grieve privately, or did she live in denial? Why did she avoid directly addressing the media about Kaylee, even after
the trial was over? Were there moments when she showed genuine remorse, or did she continue to live her life detached from the tragedy? Why does the public still care about Casey Anthony?
Even after a decade, Casey's story continues to captivate
people.
The questions about what really happened to Kaylee remain unanswered. Was Casey guilty, or did she fall victim to circumstances beyond her control?
After Casey Anthony's shocking acquittal,
the world was left in disbelief, but one question lingered. Did justice fail Kaylee?
The public believed the truth was hidden beneath layers of lies, but the acquittal sealed a fate that left many asking if the system truly delivered justice. Was Casey Anthony guilty of murder, or was the system manipulated?
What was left unsaid during the trial, and why does this case still haunt the public today?
What went wrong in the Casey Anthony trial?
Casey Anthony was acquitted of murder, but many people still believe the trial was a miscarriage of justice. Despite the emotional and media-packed trial, there were gaps in the prosecution's case that led to Casey's acquittal.
What went wrong with the evidence? Did the prosecution fail to present a strong enough case?
And how did the defense manage to cast doubt on the entire investigation?
This video will analyze the key moments in the trial, exploring whether the justice system really failed Kaylee, or if the evidence just wasn't there. When the jury found Casey Anthony not guilty of murder, the nation was stunned. How could this happen?
Was there enough evidence to convict her, or was the case too complicated to handle? We'll break down the reasoning behind the acquittal, examining how the prosecution struggled to present its case, and whether the verdict was truly justified. Did the system fail Kaylee?
The key question still lingering is whether justice truly served Casey Anthony. Could the justice system have done more to prevent the tragedy from happening? Or did Casey Anthony slip through the cracks? How much of the system's flaws contributed to Kaylee's death being left without closure? Could more evidence have changed the outcome? In hindsight, experts continue to question if there were missed opportunities for stronger evidence. Could the prosecution have found more to prove Casey's guilt?
Or were they blindsided by too many variables, ultimately causing a weak case?
We'll examine what could have been done differently during the trial and whether more thorough investigative work might have made a difference. Why does this case continue to captivate the public? Despite the trial being over, Casey Anthony's story continues to grip the public's imagination. What is it about this case that still leaves people questioning? Is it the emotional weight of a mother possibly getting away with murder? Or is it the mystery of Kaylee's death that still hasn't been solved? This video will explore why people still can't let go of the Casey Anthony case and why it continues to spark debate,
even years after the trial ended? What if everything you thought you knew about the Casey Anthony case was wrong? What if the truth about Cale's death has been deliberately buried, twisted, or obscured by a web of conspiracy theories? From secretive court maneuvers to wild rumors about hidden evidence, this case has spawned its own underground network
Of theories, the death of Caylee Anthony remains one of the most controversial and mysterious cases in modern true crime history.
But what if the official story doesn't tell the whole truth? From bizarre accusations to deep-seated beliefs that something was covered up, we'll explore the conspiracies surrounding the case.
What did the prosecution miss? Could there have been a hidden agenda, or were people with power involved in covering up the truth? One of the most popular conspiracy theories surrounding the Casey Anthony case is that someone close to Casey, perhaps even a member of her family, was involved in the death of Caylee, and that Casey was either protecting them or being manipulated.
Was Casey's acquittal the result of a calculated effort to protect the guilty party? We'll explore this theory and break down the possible connections that might point to a larger cover-up. A central figure in many conspiracy theories is George
Anthony, Casey's father. Some speculate that he might have been involved in the death of Caylee, while others suggest he played a role in covering it up.
Did George Anthony's actions and statements during the investigation create more questions than answers? Were there
inconsistencies in his testimony that fuel these conspiracy theories? This video will examine his role in the case and how his presence has sparked rumors that have yet to be resolved. What did the jury really know?
Could the jury have been influenced by something outside the courtroom?
Some conspiracy theorists claimed that the jury was swayed by factors that weren't part of the official case, such as media bias or outside pressure.
Could the acquittal have been a result of outside influence? Was there a deliberate attempt to get Casey off the hook? We'll take a closer look at the jury's deliberation process and explore whether justice was truly served, or if there were elements of manipulation at play. Was evidence suppressed? Could the evidence pointing to Casey's guilt have been suppressed or ignored during the trial?
Some believe that crucial pieces of the puzzle were kept from the public eye, either intentionally or through legal missteps.
We'll investigate what evidence might have been excluded and whether its inclusion could have changed the outcome of the trial.
Could there be more secrets locked away in police files that have never seen the light of day?
Why do conspiracy theories persist even after the trial? The public's obsession with this case has only grown.
But why? What is it about the Casey Anthony case that fuels these ongoing conspiracy theories? Is it the feeling that something doesn't quite add up? Or is it the fact that we still haven't found closure in Cale's death?
This video will explore why the public continues to speculate about hidden truths, and why this case remains a fertile ground for theories that suggest we'll never know the full story. The Casey Anthony
trial wasn't just about a mother and her missing daughter, it was a battle that exposed flaws in the justice system, and its aftermath has left a lasting mark on legal precedents.
With so many twists, turns, and shocking revelations, what lessons did we learn from this case? And what lasting impact did it have on the way we view justice in America?
In this video, we'll break down the legal legacy of the Casey Anthony trial and how it shaped the future of criminal defense and prosecution. What did the Casey Anthony trial expose about the justice system? The trial of Casey Anthony was one of the most high-profile criminal cases in history.
But behind the headlines, there were key legal lessons that continue to influence the justice system today. From defense strategies to the role of media coverage, this case revealed the vulnerabilities
and strengths of the legal system.
But did the system fail Caylee? Or was the trial a rare example of justice working as it was intended?
One of the most significant lessons from the Casey Anthony trial was the sheer difficulty of proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The prosecution's case was built on circumstantial evidence, and despite the media frenzy and public outrage, they failed to secure a conviction.
The case underscored the importance of having solid, irrefutable evidence, especially in a high-profile case. What lessons did this case teach future prosecutors about the burden of proof in criminal trials? We'll break down how this trial exposed the pitfalls of relying on circumstantial evidence in the absence of direct proof. The defense team, led by Joe's Bias, deployed a
strategy that shocked the public. From introducing accusations of abuse to casting doubt on the evidence, they successfully created enough ambiguity to secure an acquittal. But what does this say about the role of defense teams in the justice system?
Was the defense playing by the rules, or did they manipulate the legal process? We'll analyze the tactics used by the defense team and explore how they impacted the overall outcome of the trial. The Casey Anthony case was televised, dissected, and reported on 24/7s.
But what impact did this constant media coverage have on
The trial and the legal process? Some argue that it shaped public opinion before the verdict was even reached, putting undue pressure on the jury and the legal teams.
Others claim it simply reflected the public's desire for answers. In this video, we'll explore the influence of media on the trial, how it impacted the jury's deliberations, and what legal protections exist to prevent the media from contaminating the judicial process. Could the outcome have been different? If the trial had played out differently, could the prosecution have secured a conviction?
Were there missed opportunities? Or was it simply a case where the evidence wasn't enough to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt? We'll explore these
Questions and discuss what could have been done to strengthen the case, focusing on the gaps in the prosecution's arguments and the defense's successes. What legal precedents were set?
The Casey Anthony trial didn't just end with a verdict, it changed how future cases might be handled.
What legal precedents emerged from the case, and how have they influenced criminal defense strategies and prosecutorial approaches? Why does
This case still matter to the public.
Despite the trial being years in the past,
The Casey Anthony case continues to captivate the public.
but why? Is it because the case was a reflection of the flaws within the justice system? Or is it because
It represents a deeper, more universal struggle for truth and justice. The Casey Anthony trial left an indelible mark not only on the public, but on the people closest to her family.
George and Cindy Anthony were thrust into the spotlight, caught between defending their daughter and the brutal reality of Cale's death? In this video, we explore the untold emotional and psychological impact the trial had on Casey's family, their relationship with Casey post-trial, and whether they could ever truly heal from the wounds that were laid bare at court. How did the
Trial affect Casey's parents.
Cindy and George Anthony's lives were turned upside down by the trial. While they were publicly supportive of their daughter, the trial revealed dark secrets and raised more questions than answers. How did they cope with the conflicting emotions of supporting their daughter while also facing the possibility that she may have been responsible for the death of their granddaughter?
This video will explore the complex emotional toll on the
Anthony family, highlighting how they struggled with their roles in the public eye and their private pain during the trial. George and Cindy Anthony were vocal in their support of Casey, but the trial revealed so much that made it impossible
to simply ignore the horrific possibility that their daughter had killed their granddaughter. The tension between the need to defend their child and the reality of the situation is one of the most poignant parts of this case.
How did they reconcile these conflicting emotions? And did they ever truly believe Casey's innocence, or were they too emotionally attached to accept the full truth?
We'll break down how their public statements and actions during the trial were affected by their own emotional turmoil. The verdict may have been delivered, but the emotional consequences
of the trial lingered for years. George and Cindy's relationship with Casey was forever changed.
Was their support for her a last attempt to hold on to some semblance of family? Or did they believe, deep down, that Casey was guilty? We'll dive into how their family dynamics were permanently altered by the trial and the years following. After the trial, Casey was left with a world of hostility and confusion.
The acquittal did not absolve her of public condemnation, and the emotional weight of her actions continued to haunt her.
But how did Casey handle the guilt, the media frenzy, and the crushing public perception that she was guilty?
Did she ever seek forgiveness or attempt to mend her fractured relationships with her family? Will Casey ever reconcile with her family?
Despite years of estrangement, will there ever be a true reconciliation between Casey and her parents?
Many believe that no matter how much time passes, the wounds of the trial are too deep to heal. Did Casey's acquittal bring her closer to her family, or did it only widen the rift?
We'll explore whether there is any hope for healing and the
possible steps Casey and her parents could take to rebuild their broken relationships. Did Cindy and George ever truly forgive Casey?
Though Cindy and George expressed love for their daughter, could they ever truly forgive her for what happened?
The public's judgment was harsh, but what about their personal feelings? Did they ever find closure in the aftermath, or did they
live in constant emotional limbo, unsure of what had really happened to Kaylee?
Why does the public care about the family's struggles?
The Anthony family's journey after the trial continues to captivate the public.
But why? Is it because the tragedy of Kale's death affected not just her mother, but her entire family? Is it because people want to see the full emotional and psychological toll the trial took on those closest to Casey? As the years go on, the Anthony
family is still haunted by the tragic loss of Kaylee and the unrelenting tension from the trial. Could they ever heal from the emotional scars of the case?
and what will it take for Casey and her parents to come to terms with the horror they
All lived through? In our next video, we'll explore how the media continued to influence the Anthony family after the trial, and how their lives were shaped by the cameras and public attention.
Did the media push them further apart, or did it provide an avenue
For healing?
Stay tuned as we uncover the lasting effects of media exposure on their fragile family dynamic. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and drop comment below.